welcome back. So I was just relaxing downstairs and I thought that I would actually come upstairs and just play around with some makeup. I have not had a chance to use these Beauty Moon Cosmetics liquid shadows that Mama Bear, aka Erica Conger, sent me. My only experience with liquid kind of eyeshadows are the ColorFix from Danessa Myricks. These are very different though. I think one, they dry down very quickly. You can use them, I guess like other ones too, you can use them all over the face. I have used them for eyeliner, for eyeshadow, for blush, as lip color, blah bitty blah. And not only, I prefer the matte ColorFix that she has, but there are other ones like metallics and shimmer and all those things, but I just prefer the matte ones. Now, I was playing around with these. I've never used anything from Beauty Moon Cosmetics, so this is my first time. And I had put some primer on and put the liquid shadow on top. As it was drying down, I noticed that it was creasing. You know, like if you have eyelids, they're gonna crease, right? So I was considering putting them on with no primer, but I also kind of want to do what I usually do to make sure that it sort of fits with my style. So what I'm thinking of using, initially I was going to use just a regular old eyeshadow, like a brown or something, but I'm thinking that I will use a ColorFix because I know that that's gonna dry down matte and just give me like a nice base, and then put 1, 2, or all 3 of these on top. So let me grab my ColorFix and see what seems the best idea. Okay, so I have some of my ColorFix in front of me, and as I was thinking, I might use a black base. Here's the ColorFix Matte Black in the shade Blackout, because when you put down a black base and you put any sort of like multi-chrome on top, it really makes the shade pop. So I was thinking that, don't know if it's gonna work, but we're gonna give it a try. And plus, I'm also going to use my Groundwork palette probably and use the shade Tourmaline, which is this black here. Yeah, so we're just gonna try stuff and see what happens. There's a brush down here that I didn't realize. Okay, so I think, what shall I do? Let's start with the ColorFix because that's gonna dry down very matte, and that is what I want. So I'm just gonna put a little on this. I have a little palette down here and a brush. So I want a flat brush, flat bristle, and this is the A505 from BK Beauty, the collab they did with Angie, Hot and Flashy. And I'm gonna dip into that. There it is. And now I'm just gonna first follow like the little crease fold here. Do you hear like the cicadas or whatever that is? I think the cicadas. Crazy, right? There's this cat, like a stray cat that has been roaming around for a while, and I'll just like sometimes see it, right? And since like getting Miss Ma'am, I'm like, oh, cats are so cute. They're so cool. So once I saw, like I had the door open, the front door open, but then like I have this, it's not a screen, it's just a full glass door, right? It used to be like a half glass, but I needed to replace it. And one reason was that the glass pane fell out and bopped somebody in the head, okay? So I was like, oh, so I should really go ahead and replace this. And you do have to work quickly with this because it dries down very fast. So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to get a full glass door. It didn't hurt. The person is fine. Okay. Just a little bop. So I was like, I'm going to get a full glass door because one, that just looks super sleek. And I wanted to kind of like update the look. And also I was like, that'll be easier for Rose to look out the door. Like she could sit there rather than having to be on her hind legs, like looking up, right? So one time she was there and I like walk by the door and I see her little friend, little cat, just sitting there. They just staring at each other. And I'm like, oh, that's your little friend, right? So the cat just runs away and I just occasionally see it. Okay. And I don't know what to do. I don't necessarily, like, I feel like I want to keep it. That's one thing. I feel like I want to keep it. But it's just, I see it so infrequently that I don't know if it's just like someone's outdoor cat. Cause it looks pretty well groomed and looks like it's eating. So I don't know. But I feel like it's suspicious of me. I'm seeing like more and more animals around here. The other day, I was minding my business and I was bringing like some groceries into the house and I look over and there's a deer just staring at me. It's a big old deer. And so I like stop in my tracks and I had to think like, do deer attack? And I just like didn't make eye contact. And I just kept walking into my house. Put the groceries down. Because it was just like, it was just staring at me. And I was like, I feel really uncomfortable. But after a while it left. So I actually don't know the purpose of any of those stories. I really don't know. Okay, I'm gonna start to bring this up a little bit. I'm trying to be very careful because it's such, of course, a dark color. It's black. I want to follow some sort of shape. I'm not too concerned about here on the outer edge because I'm probably gonna put like some sort of other eyeshadow there, maybe. But now that I have that down, I am going to use the like putty shade tourmaline, this one here, to kind of smooth things out a little bit. Like I legit don't know what I'm doing, y'all. So, yeah. Just gonna go with it. So I was reading the news, y'all. You know. There's a lot of like terrible things in the news. So I read those, but I usually try to talk about the non-heinous things, right? But I was reading about this dude in Florida because you know, it's always Florida. And how old is he? 30, I think. Okay. Now, the one thing I learned with this is that putting a little bit of that powder on top really like sets it in. So that is this little pan here. I think one of my besties might be getting some PR from Danessa because she's a makeup artist and oh, that would be so cool. Cause then maybe I'm getting closer, like, you know, I mean, like, well, that's my bestie. So obviously I come on. I'm like a full-on stan. DM. So I call her cousin. Okay. I'm anxious. So I'm like, but let's go ahead and put some of these on. Now, there aren't any shade names. There are just numbers on here. Yeah, I don't see any names. So, this is number 33. That's pretty. This is number 3. Those are kind of similar. Oh, there's a little bit of shift. I don't know if you can see it. And then let's see. This is number 1. So that's definitely different from the others. Well, maybe what I'll do is I'll use this over most of my eye. I don't know. I'm just going to try. Pray. Pray with me, Forrest. Pray with me. Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far, far away from here. Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far, far away from here. Fave movie. For a really long time, that was like my favorite movie. Okay. And it doesn't look like... Yeah, I think the black is pretty much set because I don't notice any coming off on the applicator here. So I'm just gonna follow what I did here. Now, given how I've used the ColorFix, I'm assuming that I need to let this dry. Actually, you know what? I think I'm just going to cover the whole lid. Let me know if you like liquid shadows and which ones you've used. Erica also sent me 2 from Sydney Grace. They're somewhere here. So I'll use those at some point also. And I have so many Sydney Grace mattes that I can pair them with. Okay. I feel like it's... I want to let it dry because I'm also wondering, can it be layered without like cracking? I feel like you have to be so much more precise with liquid shadow. And then, you know, you've got eye folds. I feel like it's drying pretty quickly. But also I'm thinking you've got to really put it where you want to, because I don't know that you're going to be able to really move it in terms of blending. I kind of feel like doing that made so hard to tell. Let me add a little bit. Shoot, which one did I use? Flip. Oh, I think I used number 1 because the other 2 very similar. So I'm gonna put some on my finger. Okay, I actually think, is it showing up a bit better? Somebody's probably like, no, this is how you're supposed to do it. Chad, tell me, girl, because I don't know. Like, do I not like liquid shadows? Well, I have it on my eye, and we're just going to go from there. And while we're going from there, I'm also going to tell you about this story, because I think I started telling you, and then I stopped. Let me see. I have it here, so I want to get the name. No, that's not her. That's not. It's in Florida, because everything is. And it's a young guy. He's 30. I'm like, oh my God, he's so young. And a lot of my college clients are like, oh my God, like they're like 25. That's like so old. And I'm like, child. Okay, so 33-year-old Claude Vincent Griffin was arrested. And he was arrested and charged with grand theft, burglary, criminal mischief, cocaine possession, and resisting an officer without violence. I wonder what that means. Does that mean that he's just like, no, I don't want to? When they like put your hand, they were like, put your hands behind your back. I'm gonna go ahead in with number 3. Now, what happened with Claude is that Claude decided that he was going to rob this phone repair store called, what's it called? Irreplace Tech. Now, the place has cameras inside, you know, because they have all of this tech, electronics and everything at the store, of course, because it's a phone replace store, phone repair store. But they caught Mr. Griffin on camera. Here's the thing. I don't know that any of us have been in, did I scratch myself? I did. Oh my God. Face is my money maker. Girl, no it's not. So Claude decides that he's going to go ahead and steal from this store. So he goes in, and on the camera is just like, the camera's like right here. So you can see the entire store, right? So he goes in, it's one of those glass counters, you know, like that you have at these sorts of stores, or like a jewelry or pawn shop. And so he bashes the top of it with his hand, right? And he's just grabbing stuff, putting it in a bag. Now, I think Claude thought that he wasn't going to get caught because of his disguise. Now, he just had on like some, I think it was all black, some pants, a shirt, you know. And then to like disguise, to the rest of the disguise, like hide his face, he used a box, like an Amazon box, like a white box, just cardboard box on his head. Okay? I don't have any boxes in here big enough. Here's a box. Let me see this box here. So let's just say this was white and it was big enough. Let's just pretend I'm putting it on top of my head, right? So it was like this. His head was inside the box. It was like this. So you just see on the camera his head just moving, right? So then he like moves the box out of the way a little bit, because I'm guessing it gets hot in there. You know, you're like breathing, and then the carbon, what is it? It's not carbon monoxide. CO2, right? I swear. I think my brain stops working at like 2:15. So I guess it gets hot in there. I'm not sure. I've never robbed a place, and I've certainly never like worn a box for a while. And what happens is he completely moves the box off of his face, and the camera catches his whole countenance, his whole face. Claude, you're on camera, literally. What was that? Like, surprise, you're on candid camera. They see his whole face. Whole thing. They see the whole thing. Okay, so this isn't bad, right? I don't think it's creasing. it definitely has dried down. Like, this is the finger I put it on with, so there's still a little bit more but on there, but I'm pressing and I don't think really nothing on there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is add some mattes, because yeah, anyway, so the owner, why did I say it like that? The owner, I think his name was like Jeremiah, he puts it out there like, does anybody know who this is? And the police go ahead and find Mr. Griffin, and they like quick, okay? So quick that he was still in the same shopping center where the store, the repair store is, and he was just like outside with his friends drinking. I'm going to go into some of these browns here. I tend to use these a lot. Maybe even this one. Yeah, start with that one. So, yeah. Claude, I guess he thought like that he got away with it, girl. He was like, he probably went to his friends like, yeah, dude, I just went in here and got all these phones. They're like, what? How'd you do that? Why'd you disguise yourself? I use this box right here, this Amazon box. Child. So Claude done got caught. And you got the nerve, Claude, to have cocaine on you? You just made it worse. You really just made it worse. And this shade is doing absolutely nothing. So let's try darker one. I mean, it might also be that I need a regular eyeshadow. So let's use some of my trusted Sydney Grace shades. This is the Sydney Grace single in dark chocolate. I really just want to see if I can make anything blend here. You've really gotta, maybe not. I mean, when in doubt, just like keep blending. That's what I'm gonna do. Anyway, so he gets caught and he gets, you know, charged, and I don't know what happens after, but I don't think there's much, like the evidence is literally, you can literally see the evidence, so I don't think he's gonna get out of that. I don't know why people be trying to steal stuff. You know what? I'm gonna go back to this. And since I was doing like these liquidy kind of things, let me go into... Will that do anything? If I do this instead of a shadow? Not really. Huh. So I'm thinking that if I were to use liquid shadows, I would just have to use the liquid shadow and leave it be, because when I'm looking at this, I can still see the demarcation of where the shadow is. Which is fine because I took pains to have some sort of shape to it, right? So I'm not too mad about it. Just a little mad, just a little upset. Yeah, but let me tell you about this other guy. I don't think he was in Florida. Was he? Let me see. He wasn't in Florida. He's in Missouri. Missouri is starting to be up there with the shenanigans. I think the other day, Tracy was like, it's often Florida and Ohio. Also Missouri, okay? Missouri is up there. So let me find his name. Michael Conley Lloyd, 33. He's actually entered a plea, I think he's pleading guilty, yeah, to 1 count of bank robbery, federal court. So let me tell you what happened. So in Missouri, like some of the story we don't get until after Michael is arrested. So, stuff getting all mixed up. I'm gonna go in on the other eye and see if I can recreate the same thing. So he says, like after the fact, once he's been apprehended by law enforcement, he says that he had an argument with his partner, with his lover, and that he wanted to prove a point. We don't know what point it is that he wanted to prove. I don't know if Michael knows what point he wanted to prove. But he decided that that point would be, like, he could prove it by robbing a bank. And he didn't know what bank he was gonna rob. So he had just been, like, driving around the neighborhood, and he saw a Bank of America, and it was just like, you're there, let's go. You know, the bank is in the right place at the wrong time. So I was like, all right, Michael. Here's the thing. Michael sort of borrowed his roommate's car to get to the bank. So I'm assuming Michael didn't have a car, right? So he borrowed his roommate's. I say borrow because I'm pretty sure I don't know if the roommate knew, but it was a black Dodge Ram. So Michael goes and he parks in the B of A parking lot, and he decides, like, he's got to write the, like, thief note. What's it called? The note that says, give me some money. Here's where I don't know what happened. This is where Michael's plan fell apart. Somehow or another, Michael, you know, you have to have some paper to write stuff on. You kind of need paper and a pen, right? Michael only had a highlighter, and the only piece of paper he seemed to have on him was his birth certificate. That's what he writes the note on. That's what he writes the note on. His, like, demand note was written in highlighter on the back of his birth certificate. Now, first of all, I can really appreciate that he has his birth certificate, that he knows where it is. He shouldn't have it on his person, I don't think, and I don't know why. I mean, Michael doesn't make the best decisions, so maybe that's why. Anyway, so Michael goes into the bank, and, you know, on the note, it's like, give me your money, don't say anything, you know, yada yada, the typical note. So I don't know what the typical note is. I assume that it's something like this. So, you know, yeah, it literally has it's his entire, this is a person on earth proof. His birth certificate. So Michael gets about $754. I don't know why I know that exact amount. Michael gets the car, gets the food. Michael gets the money, gets in the car. I don't know if he had food, okay? At this point, like, the bank, of course, has alerted the police, and the police are now just coming out looking for who robbed the bank. Oh, yeah, it's federal because it's a bank. Yeah, you can't be Michael. That's it for you, babes. The other thing that you probably should know is that Michael is also wearing, like, an ankle monitor. I think that was because of maybe, like, drug possession. So Michael realizes, like, he's starting to see law enforcement, like, all over the place, right? And he's pretty much realizing they're looking for me. Probably one of the smartest things that actually popped into his head that day. Michael freaks out because he sees all the police cars, and Michael decides to then throw his birth certificate out the window along with his ID. what? Okay. So he keeps driving. He's like getting nervous. He already got rid of the note and his identification. And so he decides to start throwing the money out the car. I am not making this up. Michael starts throwing the money out of the car. And then he calls his lover. I don't know what they talk about. I don't know if he was like, hey, babe, I proved my point. Or yours. And then Michael also calls the roommate, whose car he has, whose little truck he has, and tells the roommate, hey, report your car stolen, and then listen to the police scanner and tell me, like, what the updates are. I don't know if he could have been dumber. I don't know if he could. I don't understand any move that he made here. Like, bad enough you're going to go ahead and rob a bank. I mean, first of all, yes, that's a federal offense. Not only that, but you have on an ankle monitor. And then you decide, the only piece of paper you have is your birth certificate. You don't have a pen, you only have a highlighter. It just feels like it gets worse and worse. Like, maybe you should have just used your phone and been like, hey, here's my little note. Give me the money. Because I feel like the birth certificate is just such a bad idea. And then you won't go ahead and throw the birth certificate out the window with your ID. Not only is that just in poor form, because you're littering, but also, hello, this is literally confirming your identity. But also, I don't think you really want nobody going ahead and picking up your birth certificate and your ID, right? I don't think a random person should get that. And then, Michael, you throw the money out the window. Not only that, you only got $754. Child. So Michael done got arrested. You should see his mug shot. You should. He literally looks like he's in the middle of saying something and they just like took the photo. Like, I don't know if he was like, let me see. Let me see if I can show you. I have my phone right here. Ooh, my bad, sorry. Let me see if I can show you. Look at Michael. Child, I didn't even know. What is that? Does that say? I think he has F-U-C-K on his neck. He was quickly located at Lazy Acres Mobile Home Park. That's where he lived. And he swiftly confessed after waiving his Miranda rights. I mean, this just feels like... I mean, the maximum that he could get is 20 years and a $250,000 fine. That's Michael. You know what I wonder? Out of all of this, I wonder what was the point he was trying to prove. Because maybe this all makes sense if we have that context. Maybe it all makes sense. I don't know. I wasn't there for sure. And I don't... Like, what was the argument that made you say, I'm gonna go rob a bank? to prove my point. But also, I'm trying, were you proving Ashley, that's his lover's name, were you proving Ashley's point? I don't know if Ashley is a male or female, because the name could be either. But you might be proving Ashley's point that you're a fool. Michael's like, I know I am. I'm gonna prove it to you. Oh, Michael. And then Michael was like, you know what? F Miranda. I did it. Child, Michael. I wonder what Ashley said when Michael called Ashley. And the roommate. Like, wait, dude, you're in my car and you want me to call and report it stolen and then just, like, listen on the police scanner to see if, what, they're gonna, like, they're catching you? I don't know. Michael had something in his system that caused him to not think. Because I don't know that it's natural for somebody to be that foolish. I don't know. I can appreciate, though, that he had his birth certificate, he knew where it was, and then he just went ahead and confessed. What damn point he was trying to prove. But shall we go back to Florida? Because why not? I think this lady's name is Sharon, and she's like 44, old enough to know better. Now, Sharon, she didn't have an ankle monitor. But she got charged with something like, I think it was, she was in possession of prescription painkillers that were not prescribed to her. Right. So part of this was that she had to do a urinalysis, a drug test through urine. What shades did I use? I think I used this shade. So I guess Sharon had stuff in her system. So she knew that she wasn't going to pass the urinalysis. She was afraid that she was going to drop dirty. Now, I learned that phrase when I was doing a practicum placement, you know, when you're in training as a therapist at a community agency. Now, community agencies, listen, in general, therapists are overworked and underpaid, like prime example. But community agencies, they are just known for just being super busy. The therapists are often just tired. They're seeing a whole bunch of people all day, every day, high acuity. Like, it's a lot, right? And I wanted some of that experience because when you're at a university, often your practicum sites are like on campus, like you're at the counseling center or you're at the career center, yada yada. And I was like, nah, I want to expand my horizons and get training outside of a university setting. And I will say that was some of the like best training in terms of the vast, the wide variety of clients that I saw. It's like, I can't even, the people I saw and the things they were coming in with, and I actually ended up working with a lot of people who were on probation and parole. So we would be talking about stuff, because, you know, like, since they're on probation and parole, sometimes that meant I was going to be in contact with their probation or parole officer. Anyway, so, you know, talking about, like, are you gonna pass the drug test, boo-boo? You know, and some people are like, nah, I'm gonna drop dirty. Meaning they're not gonna pass, because you're gonna find something in their urine. So Sharon was doing something, maybe with those prescription drugs that she had, but she knew that she wasn't gonna pass. She was gonna have some dirty urine. Hopefully she was at least hydrated. So Sharon decides to put a little concoction in like a prescription bottle. So when they were searching her, they found said prescription bottle in her body. How did she fit a prescription body? And it was in her vag. I'm just thinking about the prescription bottles I have, and I'm sorry, like, there's a lot stretching to do. There's a lot of girth to that. I just feel like that's my limit. Like, okay. So they proceed to test the liquid in the prescription bottle. Y'all, she used a combination of water, tap water, and soda. I wonder if she used Mountain Dew. Like, remember last time we talked about the lady who was poisoning her husband with the Mountain Dew? I wonder, because what other soda? Because you have to have a little tint to it, right? The only thing I can think of is Mountain Dew. Lord child, what if she used like Coca-Cola? You know what? I think, I was going to say maybe Sharon is smarter than that, and then I realized what I was saying. I don't know. So obviously now Sharon's in, she's got more problems now. It's like y'all are legit just making things worse. Like, you're making things worse. Making things worse. Okay, I'm going to do the same sort of blending with those dark shades that I did over here. I'm going to do it on this eye, and then I'll be right back. Okay. I have one more story, and I'm also going to put on my mascara, which is the Huda Beauty One Coat Wow. So this one is in Tasmania, and there was a lady who dialed 000, right? That's our 911 equivalent in the US. And it was pretty late. It's like 11 p.m. And I think this was last December. Yeah, last December. Almost a year ago. So she calls and she tells the operator who answers that a ping pong ball was stuck in her vagina. But she said that she was pretty good. She was just laying there. But she needed the ambulance to come and help her out. Y'all, 6 hours later. 6 hours later, they showed up. So she called about 11. They got there about 4:30 a.m. She called about 11 p.m. They got there about 4:30 a.m. the next day. Because she said that she was pretty good and she was just laying there and, you know, no big deal. So the lady was telling the paramedics that she didn't want to go to the hospital. She was like, I don't feel like doing all of that. I'm gonna just lay here real quick, and can you see if you can get it out? So she undressed and lay on the couch, prone, just legs apart. I'm not gonna go into the detail, but anyway, they they tried to use a medical instrument to remove said ping pong ball, and it was too deep in there. So it couldn't be easily removed, so they went ahead and transported her to the hospital. No, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened after that, okay? I don't know if the lady is fine. I assume she is. You know what? Because this is not uncommon. Well, I don't know specifically this foreign object, but people come into the hospital with all kinds of things in all kinds of places, right? So I don't think this was anything too much that they hadn't seen, but the paramedic who tried to remove the object was fired because they said, so he said he was only undertaking an examination to see if he could remove the object. But they fired him. They said that this was grounds for termination because he was attempting to remove the object without appropriate training and without the appropriate training and without an appropriate instrument, and that it was outside his scope of practice. So they terminated him, and he, I guess, appealed and was like, I was just doing my job, I was just assessing the situation, and yeah, I don't think I should be fired. But they decided that, nope, you're still fired, bud. Now, there was another paramedic, a female paramedic, who was in charge of parting things. And the male paramedic is the one who took the stuff and tried to yank it out. But it only seems that the male paramedic was the one that was terminated, I guess because he used an actual instrument to try to perform an actual, I don't know, is that called a surgery? I'm not sure. I mean, I just want people to think about the health of our bodies. You just can't be sticking any and everything all up in your orifices. It's not healthy for your pH. It's just not a good idea. And people are just willy-nilly about it. I mean, the ping pong ball, I feel like that kind of makes sense, right? The pill container, the prescription pill bottle, I have questions and they're inappropriate, so I'm not even gonna ask them. But you already know. You know what kind of questions I ask, and they're probably the same kinds of questions that you're asking right now. So here is the finished look with the Beauty Moon Cosmetics liquid shadows. Again, I have shade 1, shade 3, and shade 33. And, excuse me, I used them with the Danessa Myricks Matte Colorfix in Blackout, as well as her Groundwork palette, just for some of the deeper puttyish, powderish shades. Now, I like the finished product. I think, or the finished look, I think that I can achieve it with some, like, of my powder shadows or, like, multi-chromes and stuff a little easier for me, just because I'm not very used to this, like, medium. But this reminds me of when I first started using the CoverFX, and it took me a moment to kind of get used to it, to figure out what works best for me in terms of application. And so I am going to play around with these a bit. I can see using these when I want like a quick just swipe of color and go about my business. Like, I would love to try other shades, like especially if they have matte shades. I can see that being something that I really enjoy. I also think there's more chance of creasing with liquid shades. That could just be me. I will say that I'm just very used to powder shadows, not very used to liquid ones. I do find with like the Colorfix as well as these liquid shadows, things dry quickly. And so if you put stuff somewhere that you actually end up not wanting it to be, I feel like it's just gonna stay. So I am glad that I'm trying other types of eyeshadow, and then I will also be sure to use these Sydney Grace ones. This one is in Warm Weather, and this one is in, looks like Are You Sure? So I'm going to use those and see how they compare to these. I think these are more cream than like liquid. So we'll see. I'll be sure to use these if you're interested. That is it. I hope that some of this was helpful, and I also hope that you are continuing to take care of yourself. I would love it if you liked the video, and I would love it even more if you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.